So today's guest is a mentor in a lot of ways. And if you are from the Tampa Bay area and have had the pleasure to work in direct response as I have, you know the name Harry Greene. Why do you know this name? He's our Scorsese, if you will. He's our Spielberg. In my network of friends, I don't want to embarrass you, Harry, but I'm gonna say it. He's the guy you call when you have a project that is big and mighty and requires a flawless execution with grace. And that's the biggest thing I'll say about Harry Greene. He's graceful. He has the patience of no man I've ever met before in my life, especially in the industry where I cut my teeth, which is production. Now, if you work in production or have ever been around production, it's a grind. And it's a difficult thing. So he's very. You've seen his work. You probably own some of the stuff he's had the wonderful pleasure of producing and creating. KitchenAid is one of them. Shark's another one. Hover Round. He's directed, according to the stories, and we'll get into them, he's directed Rats. He's directed during storms. He's directed during broken prompters. He's seen it all, and he's going to hopefully share a couple of these awesome stories with us today. I have a lot of questions. He is the founder of Waking Dreams Pictures, which I want to talk about the origin of that, which is really great. But he's been doing it for over 35 years as a writer, director, post-producer, post-director. I mean, the guy does it all. And again, I can't stress this enough. If you've ever been on set, it's high pressure, it's high energy, it's high stress, and never once have I personally or any of the people in my circle seen this man bat an eye when faced with some of the incredible challenges in production. So now that I've built him up.
My God.
Yeah. Well, I want to welcome Harry Greene. Harry, thank you so much for being here. Oh, and by the way, not to steal this thunder, he also brought me a wonderful chalice. Thank you so much. It's a mug.
Happy birthday.
Cheers to you. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
I appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, I didn't want to embarrass you, but I kind of did intentionally.
Yeah, you did. Tremendously. Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. Well, I meant it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all the nice things.
You're welcome. In my digging, and again, some light snooping, because we've worked together and I've seen your work. And I haven't been on every set, but you've rented the studio at Bluewater when I was working there. And you know, when you would come in, we would all try to find reasons to professionally and politely just peek in on set, you know, whether it was like, oh, I got to talk to Ryan Dillow about something, even though I didn't, or whatever, just to kind of witness, because you really are, man. You're the guy. You're the guy that people call when they need great stuff, highly, highly professional, polished, beautiful stuff. And more importantly, they need it to work because you know how to write, you know how to sell, you know how to shoot. You're like a multi-threat person. I want to know, from the beginning, where does Harry hail from? What is the story of Harry? So where did you go to school? Where are you born?
Okay. Well, like I told you earlier, I'm really not used to talking about myself all that much. So I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm a native of Floridian, which is kind of unique.
Sure.
Most folks aren't that are in the area. Grew up there, lived there till I was 14. And then my dad was transferred in his job to South Florida. So we moved to a little community called Margate, which at the time was next to Coconut Creek, if you know where that is. It's inland about 10 miles or so from Pompano Beach.
Okay, so now you're saying names that I know. Pompano. Yeah.
You know, Pompano is just a little north of Fort Lauderdale and between Fort Lauderdale and West Palm.
Sure.
So I did my junior high school and high school in Pompano Beach and graduated there and started my university career as a theater major.
So pause right there. Did you do like Missoula or any high school theater, Peter Pan? You know,
I did.
You did.
I was a theater nerd.
Okay.
Yeah. And
West Side Story.
Well, the only musical I did in high school was Sound of Music.
Okay.
And I was Captain Von Trapp in that. So, but yeah, every play that I could get cast in, I went for because I just really
you had a heart for it.
I really liked it. And
wow.
So between my junior and senior year in high school, I went to a theater workshop at Illinois State University. Someone had told me about it, one of my teachers at school, and said, you really should go if you can. And so I applied and got accepted. So I went, and it was a 2-week workshop kind of experience.
Like a camp.
During the summer,
Yeah.
And so we did 2 or 3 productions during that time. They had a great theater department. And when I was there, kind of at the end of the 2 weeks, they invited me to audition for a scholarship. So I had to prepare some monologues and stuff kind of on the hurry, and then do the auditions. And I got offered a scholarship there. So
do you remember the monologues?
There were 2 or 3 of them. I couldn't recite them for you, but they were different characters from a play called Spoon River Anthology. I don't know if you're familiar with Edgar Lee Masters. Yeah. It's just a collection of poems that are the dead in a graveyard that are talking about their lives.
Sure.
Yeah. It was one of the productions we were doing at the time, but I did some characters that weren't the characters I had originally done. So, and then another monologue from, I think from The Diary of Anne Frank, which was a play I had done in high school, and I still remembered that monologue. So I did that. I played the pater, the Anne's friend.
Sure. And you did these live. These you didn't record them and submit them.
No. I was there. So
wow.
Okay. It was like there were 4 of us out of the group that they invited to audition for scholarships, and I was lucky enough to get one. So
wow.
I went, and after my senior year, I applied for admission there, and of course because I had the scholarship, I went, and it was an interesting experience for a lot of reasons. I grew up in Florida, right?
Sure.
I was asthmatic as a kid.
The pollen,
didn't do cold weather well at all.
Oh, okay.
Cold weather.
Yeah.
So my dad grew up in Illinois, actually in Bloomington, which is right next door to Normal, Illinois, which is where Illinois State University is.
Sure.
And so he was telling me, it's really cold, Harry. Yeah. It's, you've never been this cold. I'm like, yeah, Dad. Yeah, I know. You put on a jacket.
Sure.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
It was
like to the bone.
Yeah. Now, you grew up here too, right?
No, I grew up in Southern California and then moved here.
Yeah. Have you ever been in like northern winters?
So we did. So my parents, when we were living in California, my parents and a bunch of their friends were partners in a I'm going to use the word resort, but it was kind of like a lodge with some cabins that you can rent for the summer up in like the Sierra Nevada. So if you're familiar with California, you're like Mammoth. Yeah. So in that area. And we would go in the summer, and, when we'd go to open, it would open in May, it would still be snow up there. So, and then we've, some Thanksgivings and stuff, we'd pop in there. So yes, I've definitely been like where things hurt. And then also I spent some time in Canada. I dated a girl, and so we went snowboarding one Christmassy time, around December. Cold is cold.
Yep. Well,
it's brutal.
my roommate at the dorm there at ISU was from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And
you get a lot of wind.
So Normal is like, I guess, between 60 and 90 miles south of Chicago. But the wind comes off that lake and just, it's flat. So it just rips down the state.
Right.
And there was always a wind blowing.
Sure.
And in the winter, really bad.
Well, this thing's a giant thing of ice in the winter. So it's just
And my roommate found out where I was from, and he was like, are you nuts?
Yeah.
So I'd give my right arm to go to school in Florida. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So the first really cold weather we had, I was totally unprepared. Yep. I was living in a dorm that was a mile from the center of campus. I didn't have a car. Okay. So I was walking, and I didn't really have the right clothes yet.
Okay.
So the first day, it was snowing, it was sleeting, it was nasty. I think we're like maybe a month and a half into classes.
Sure.
So, I knew I had to be there at a certain time. But I had a jacket, and I had a scarf, and I had a hat, and I was watching people slip and fall on the ice, and I thought, well, that's stupid, And then I proceeded to fall 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
But I remember getting to the classroom, the building where my class was, the first time in that really awful weather, and got to the door and went inside, and I reached up to pull my scarf down, and my breath had frozen solid in the scarf. It was just just a piece of ice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I doing here?
What is this? Yeah.
Do people live in this?
Yeah.
They do.
Oh, yeah, they sure do.
So to make a long story short, I stayed sick all winter long.
Sure, I bet.
I did. I just, I couldn't shake a cold. I got really bad bronchitis. I got cast in 2 shows.
Oh, so you're performing and you're sick.
And
Oh,
and
geez.
carrying a course load, which they insisted I carry, the full load of courses and do all the extra work in the theater department, which was part of my deal.
Right.
And so I just, I struggled through till Christmas. And Christmas I came back home for the holidays. And I told my folks, I said, I like it, but I'm not sure.
Sure.
And, my mom said, well, you just stick with it, give it a try, because it's something I know how badly you want this, blah, blah. So anyway, went back.
That's interesting because usually it's dad that tells you like, man up, get out there. And mom's usually like, mom's usually the softer one.
Well, dad was kind of like, I told you so. Yeah, exactly. I told you
Sure.
it was cold.
It was just also very dad.
But he was very supportive too.
Sure.
But anyway, I went back and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And part of it, I think, if I'm really being honest, was I went from being a big fish in a small pond in high school to a small fish in a very big pond of very talented people.
And an icy pond.
An icy pond.
Sure.
So it was a combination of the weather and my health and trying to adjust to that whole thing, dealing with the dynamics of that department. So anyway, long story short, I gave up the scholarship, came home, and did a couple years of community college down in Fort Lauderdale, year and a half. And then I transferred to University of South Florida and changed my major to mass comm film because they had just started a film department there. This is really dating myself now. This is 1972, 73. And that department was really interesting and had a lot of potential, but unfortunately it had some political issues because the gentleman who was running the department was hated by everybody in the administration.
Sure. So not a lot of universal, not getting a lot of support, not a lot of funding.
No.
Sure.
It was unfortunate because they had succeeded in getting all of the equipment, and it was everything you could imagine from a studio, from an Army Signal Corps unit in Fort Dix, New Jersey that had closed down, and they had somehow bid on it and acquired it. I mean, it was everything from these are major motion picture, Mitchell cameras, Steenbeck flatbeds, moviolas, everything.
All the tools.
Everything. I mean, it was like pro-grade stuff.
Sure.
They even had laboratories, which they'd set up a full processing lab and everything. Yeah. So anyway, I went through that program and finished that program eventually and went to work. Not in the business, but I went to work because my wife and I had gotten married before I graduated, and had a child.
Sure.
And so I had to go to work to find work. And there was a company in. Am I boring you with this? I mean,
No.
This is like a long.
No, please, no. That's why I invited you, man. Listen. Since you said that, I'm going to tell you a very, very real truth. When in my digging, in my snooping, when people were like, oh, you're going to interview Harry Greene? And I said, yeah, why? And they're like, because nobody really knows anything about him. And I go, well, I want to know everything about him. Because again, on set, time is money.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And outside of like the rushed lunch with usually people in our position, if you're a producer director, you're working through if you even you don't get the 30 that the boys and the crew and you get. We're with client. We're going through revisions. We're trying to plan we're trying to plan 5 steps ahead. So you don't really get a lot of opportunities. And typically, again, for there's one time, and we'll get there because it's a moment that has stayed with me to this day, and I use it every day. But I've never gotten a lot of chances to sit and really chat. Yeah. It's always been work, And so when I told people, I'm gonna talk to Harry, and they're like, there was one person who obviously knows you better than anybody else, and that's Colleen, right? And so she was very kind and put some time aside and gave me some juice. I wanted some of that tea, that Harry tea, and I got a little bit of it. But so no, to answer your question, none of this is boring. This is why I wanted you here. I want to hear it.
Like, get into the
no, brother, get it, dude. There is no time but our time.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So after school, got married. We had a child. I went to work for there's a big department store chain here in South Florida back in the early 70s. It had been here since the 20s, actually, called Moss Brothers, MAAS, Moss Brothers.
Okay.
And they had stores in Tampa and Clearwater and all the way down the coast to Naples. And
What kind of store? It was like a J.C. Penney?
big retail department store.
Oh, okay. So
like a Penny's.
Yeah, like a
kinda,
Penny's. Yeah, got it.
They were eventually bought by
Acquired.
it became part of, I think it was Jordan Marsh, and then became part of the chain that owned Burdines. And
And now it's Walmart.
Yep.
Or now it's brought to you by Walmart.
They went out of business. They
Yeah,
were
sure.
a Tampa West and Florida West Coast fixture for a long time.
Sure.
A long time. So anyway, I went to work for them and first took a job. I had a degree at that point, but I didn't really have a place to go there, so I took whatever I could get. They had an executive training program, and I kind of slid into that, and I was angling to get into marketing just because I wanted to make commercials was what I wanted to do for Moss Brothers. And so I did some of that, but I eventually wound up learning more about marketing than I did making commercials for them because I wound up in the new accounts marketing department, which was their credit card marketing department.
Okay.
And they were doing a lot of direct mail and some television.
Sure.
So that was my master's in marketing.
Right. Yeah.
Doing that for almost 4 or 5 years. So that was a really good place to start for what eventually became my path. You know.
I love that you said that was your master's.
Yeah.
I didn't spend a day in college here. I tried, and I was like, I'm a musician. I'm gonna F off and make my parents real proud, and and play music, right? And I cut my teeth, through learned experience by exposure and just saying yes. And I've never thought of that as like I did go to college. I went to Harrington Multimedia Junior College, and then I went to Bluewater University.
Yeah.
Right? I never, man. Just the wisdom that just pours from you, brother. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Well, it's like
okay.
I didn't go to. I mean, my university time was film and writing, and it was that. It wasn't marketing.
Sure.
But at Moss Brothers, it was how do we sell people credit cards? How do we get people to take a credit card? How do we get them to up their
say yes,
buy more stuff?
Right. Exactly. Consumers.
Yeah. Exactly.
Consume, man.
So I learned a lot there, and then.
Yeah.
I eventually left Moss Brothers and took another position, marketing for a company called Southeast Bank. That was a large banking chain in the state back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Sure.
In their marketing department. And that was more interesting. It wasn't just credit cards. It was marketing the bank and all of its products.
Sure, all of its services. Yeah.
And then I got to do a little more in the way of commercials for that, and got a little more involved on the writing side, the film side, and that was kind of a transition job for me.
Sure.
Because I started seeing, hey, I think I'm going to get to do what I really want to do.
It's finally happening.
Yeah.
You're coming home to your wife and saying, baby, my ticket's come. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
And I had two things kind of happen back to back. The gentleman that I worked for at Southeast, whose name I won't mention,
Sure.
turned out to be a crook.
Okay.
And
Happens.
He was
unfortunately.
He was basically using the bank's personnel to do personal work on the side.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was also diverting funds to do it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So labor fraud and embezzlement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that position
Those are big ones.
ended when one of my colleagues who had been doing work for him, thinking it was bank work, wound up having to get an attorney to defend herself when she started getting interviewed by not the local police,
No, the FBI.
the FBI.
Yeah. When you work in the bank, they take it.
Yeah.
They take it a little bit more serious.
So when that started happening, I was like, "Oh, is that going to happen to me?" And so I had an FBI interview.
Sure.
And they just asked me questions about, what did you know? It was like a 2-hour interview.
Sure.
And then nothing ever came of it for me.
Oh, thank God for that.
The lady, unfortunately, her stuff dragged on, and she had to put out a lot of money, just to have the attorney there to make sure she didn't misstep or
Sure.
say something where she
Jeez.
was never charged. The guy, his name was Gary. I won't say his last name, but
Sure.
he was charged.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah. So,
But then
was,
that ends that now. So that there was Harry's window, and the window is slammed shut. Right. But in my experience, when doors close or windows close, another one opens. Yeah. So that's okay. So it happens. All right.
So
now you're out of a job.
yeah.
Oh,
now
geez.
I'm out of a job. So
With a wife and a kid.
So
It's the worst.
This is like a really weird transition.
No,
so one of the guys that was working in the marketing department as a creative director was teaching on the side at a school called Tampa Technical Institute at the time, and it was a post-secondary 2-year program. And they had a whole bunch of different programs in the school. They had like drafting, and they had electronics, but they also had a commercial art and design program. And he said to me, because we knew, he was kind of already in the door, and he said, "Why don't you come work here?" He said, "You know enough about, art and photography and all that." And so I did. I went and I applied, and I took a position there, and wound up, after 2 years, I helped design curriculum for the photography part of the curriculum, which they didn't have in motion picture part of what commercial art involves. At that time, this was all cut and paste, and it was nothing digital.
No.
We hadn't turned that corner yet at all.
Yeah, which is I'm so glad you said that, because we're going to get there. Because you've seen some stuff. You've seen some stuff. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about it.
And actually, just before I left that position, I actually back up. I was there, I think, 3 years. I have to look back at my resume, but it was about 3 years. But the last 6 months I was there, I chaired the department, because it was kind of like by default, because
People come, somebody leaves.
Yeah, the lady that was chairing the department left.
Yeah.
And so there I was, and the school had just been bought by a big concern out of California, and they were thinking they were going to promote me into an administrative position, was what they told me. But so anyway, I was chairing the department. I helped redesign the curriculum. We had just started talking about digital, because some of the newer products had come out for digital paste up, the digital page design, and that was starting to become a thing. So it's like, well, we need to be current. So we
have to start considering this new media. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as I was doing that, and they were talking to me about being in administrative, they started talking to me about possibly moving to California, because they were based in Newport Beach. And I really didn't want to do that. And I wasn't that sure about the company. I didn't feel that secure with, everything that was going on. And I had a family, and, it didn't,
it's not easy to move.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's a huge leap of faith.
So
I get you.
I had met a gentleman. Some people who hear this will know some of this story. Because, Dan Bram will know this story.
Oh, yeah. He's another one. I love
I've
me
known
some
Dan for a long time.
Yeah.
And the gentleman I'm about to tell you about, he knows, and I won't mention him by name.
Sure.
But Dan knows who I'm talking about. I met a guy who was involved in real estate seminars. And we met through a mutual friend.
In producing them or hosting them? What do you mean?
He was the host.
Okay.
He was the host.
Say no more.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
I don't want to give it away too much.
This is in the 80s now, and it was a thing. It was a thing. We met. We talked about production and writing, and he was more interested in my writing skills and the fact that I, knew something about production, and he didn't know anything about production.
Sure.
But he had been involved in the seminar business, working for other guys, but he wanted to do his own. And at that time, the big seminar deal was real estate seminars.
Oh, yeah.
Other people's money. Don't use your own money. You buy properties cheap. You use other people's money. You leverage them. You rent them. You make an income stream. And you sell them, and you make a lot of money.
That's still happening, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just, again, the media shifted.
It used to be like a really big thing.
Yeah.
So went to work for this guy. There were 2 or 3 people in the business at that time who were doing it on a big scale. And this guy wanted to really scale up to kind of match what they were doing. And the way it worked was they were buying remnant TV time to advertise the seminars on the weekend, and they were producing a half-hour infomercial, to entice people to come to the seminar.
Right.
So the infomercial basically consisted of the host talking about how rich he was, how he made his money,
Yeah.
and blah blah blah.
And you can too.
You can too.
Yeah.
And then testimonials from people who had done
Made
it.
the same money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or were on their way.
We'll call it the formula.
Yeah, it's the formula.
Yeah, the
right.
formula that we
Right.
all know very well. That's worked for
So-
decades.
So they would run these spots in local markets,
Sure.
and then they would do weekend seminars, typically like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or they might do like one location a day, sometimes 2 locations a day, and the crowds would come out and they got a lot of free info, but
Sure.
the deal was you got to come back. For the Sunday afternoon seminar, or whatever it was, and you pay $100 and for whatever it is, and
Right.
you get the book. And you
Yeah,
get
it's the timeshare. It's the
6 hours.
timeshare model. It's the timeshare.
deal.
Yeah, high pressure. Tactics. Yeah,
Yep.
the sales day. Oh God, I hate them.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yep. So I was with him for quite a while. We sort of ran the seminar down. It got to the point where it wasn't working real well.
Sure.
So he wanted to move into doing some other things.
Sure.
I met an interesting guy. You may know the name. I don't know, but I keep wanting to say his name, and I'm not going to do it.
Okay. Just call him Greg. Unless that's his name, in which case we'll call him James.
No.
Right.
But I met a guy named Rick Cesare. Do you know that name?
It is a name that rolls off the tongue,
Yeah.
but it also sounds like he could be the guitar player from Kiss.
He
and
could be,
believe,
yeah, no.
I'd believe it was the same guy. All right.
Rick, great guy. But he worked for him at the same time I did. And Rick had been doing seminars for a guy in Orlando named Tom Vu, who was a Vietnamese guy who was doing the same shtick.
Same spiel.
Same real estate.
Same
shtick,
spiel.
He
Yeah.
was a poor immigrant boy from Vietnam, and if I can make $1 million in real estate,
Look at me. Yeah.
I can teach you how to do it.
Oh yeah. And again, the tactics still work, man. I see them.
They do.
They've just the media shifted is all it is. Now
Yep.
it's online. It's on TikTok. Anyway, good.
Yep.
It's crazy. Anyway.
So this guy burned us all out. I mean, he for a lot of reasons, he was constantly having financial problems. Didn't have enough money here. Couldn't cover his media bills. Couldn't pay.
I'll gladly pay you for cheeseburger today, or what's the saying? Yeah, glad to pay you tomorrow
Tuesday
for a cheeseburger
for a
today. Yeah,
hamburger
exactly.
today.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So
You can do that once, by the way.
yeah,
Because we're all brothers, man. Especially in production, and especially if it's small time you're starting off, there's a little bit of grace that goes there. And you're leveraging friendships. This is actually evidence of that. So I'll tell a little bit of telling myself. But you got to make good on it. Number one, and number two, you can't do the same trick twice, man. It's just a one-trick pony right there. All right.
Yeah. What do they say? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So Rick eventually left and went out on his own with another guy who was working with us, and. On the sly, while I was still working for this other guy, I helped Rick put together an infomercial called How to Make $1 Million in the Stock Market by using a book by a guy named Robert Lucello. And all he had at that point was a paperback book, and it was a system.
Sure.
Basically, it was a modified dollar cost averaging system, a way to buy stock.
Right.
But it was all on paper. So Rick said, why don't we turn it into a computer program?
Yeah,
This was in
digitize it.
early days.
Yeah.
This is
floppy disk.
IBM PC,
Yeah, sure. Jeez,
MS-DOS.
Yeah.
But we did.
Yeah.
We did. We found a programmer, and it was basically a simple kind of automated spreadsheet. But you're able to enter your stocks, and then when they hit certain targets, it would tell you what to do. So he took that on the road. We did an infomercial for it, shot it at WEDU.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Oh,
Guy
Pam.
came down.
Is Pam still there?
No, she's gone now.
Oh,
she retired.
Pam. Did she?
Yeah.
Good for her. You deserve it, Pam. What about what is his name? What's his name? The guy that worked at
Francisco.
Francisco, thank you.
He's probably still there. I don't know.
Oh man,
Francisco will probably die.
Yeah, they'll bury him
WEDU.
underneath that place.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
That dude fell out of the grid.
More than once, from what I understand. More than once. He's a great guy.
Oh my god, dude, the best.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
the best. You
Yeah.
want a guy like that. If you're walking into a studio, you definitely want, in church they call them church mice, right? It's like it's usually the kid that sweeps around, but he knows where all the things
Yeah.
are, right? But yeah, you definitely want a studio rat, for sure. And Francisco is the best. Steve's that at
Yep.
Bluewater.
Yep.
You just want a dude that just knows where all the switches are, how it all works, man. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if he's still there or not, but
Yeah, I hope so.
he was a fixture.
Yeah.
He's probably still there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I just saw last year that Pam retired.
Good for
So,
her.
yeah, she was
Yeah, and what a great studio. Good, big, huge space.
shot a lot of stuff in that studio.
We did a bunch of stuff in there too. I think Bluewater did one time, but when I was doing stuff with like Tim and Chris Wilson, we rented it a few times. And then at the last agency I was at before I started Velarde Digital, we had rented it a few times because it's nice because you know if you need stills, if you have multiple setups, it's big enough to where you can go. Hey, I'm going to do stills over here. You know, I'm going to have set up one here for testimonials, and then if I have a set or any, it's just a beautiful big space. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I shot a number of shark shows there and a lot of stuff. Great space. So yeah, we shot the stock market show there, and I got a percentage of that show.
Ooh,
and
interesting.
And it hit pretty well. So Rick made a ton of money off the show.
Yeah.
And Rick has a story.
Sure.
And Rick's interesting story is he took the money from that show, is a slight tangent, and parlayed it. And you'll know Rick because he's the one that did the original George Foreman Grill.
Interesting. Okay.
And he and George made a boatload of money, and then they sold it all to Salton. This was before Salton was even involved.
Yeah.
And they made like buku bucks.
Good.
So,
Yeah, stepped
good
in
for
on
Rick.
that one.
And then
Good for
he
him.
parlayed that into a really nice business.
I'm going to tangent too on the George Foreman. Did you ever? There's a comedian that has been floating around, and he's a relatively newish comedian, but he does a whole bit on the Foreman, and he's talking about the R&D, you know, with George Foreman on the grill about like, hey George, can we put a thermostat on? No, you know, like, and he's just essentially ripping on it, like, hey, you know, like, can we put a handle on it? No, you know, like all this stuff. Can we put a timer on? No, it's just gonna be hot. It's just gonna be on, and that thing crushed. I remember having one for forever. Things that would happen, like the edge would brown. It would get so hot, you know, the plastics around it. But it was, that's probably the first infomercial product that me personally in my household growing up that we had in the house. And I don't know if my mom or dad I don't think they bought it from TV. But, you know, maybe it was Walmart or something. A lot of people
had that
Heck
product.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Knock out the fat.
Yeah, exactly. Which I guess maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Yeah.
It's pretty good. I mean, I think we still have one in the cabinet. We haven't used it for years.
Well, that thing will last forever. Here's one thing I will say about 80s and 90s products is that if you still have one, it still works. Still works. It will never break.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like a Honda Civic. It just doesn't break. Yeah.
So God bless Rick. I mean, he parlayed that into the Foreman Grill, and then he and his brother, who was a partner at the time, I think, and another gentleman, I don't know if you remember a show called The Juiceman, Jay Cordich. So he's a big juicing proponent.
He's more of a slap shop kind of guy.
Yeah, so he was like, he was really into health.
Sure.
And it was like, you know, all the things that, he was really like the first big juicing guy to get some traction in direct response.
Sure.
And they made another
buku.
Yeah.
Just
so
printing money.
Rick has a really nice business. He's sort of semi-retired now. He's writing. He's still consulting in Seattle.
Yeah.
Actually did a couple of shows for him in the last 3 years, I guess.
Nice.
We reconnected. But yeah. So anyway, Rick and I share that experience with the real estate guy who.
But this was your intro to direct response, it sounds like.
So my real intro to direct response was doing real estate seminar infomercials. Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't selling a widget, you know, it was getting somebody to come out to the seminar.
Which is tough to get anybody to do anything nowadays, but
it's a different world, right?
Very different
world.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, internet was
not a thing.
Yeah.
Not a thing. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was an interesting way to learn that. But that experience with that gentleman in the real estate seminars, that whole thing went south. Again, when the seminar business fell apart, he was looking for something else to do, and we were set up to do production and sell things. We wound up doing video production for the furniture markets in High Point, North Carolina, and Dallas, and some of the other major markets, San Francisco, around the country.
And you're doing this all out of Florida, or you're traveling for this?
Well, both.
Sure.
We had a sort of a studio set up in Florida to do some work, but in In the case of the furniture shows, we were actually traveling either to their factories or their showrooms or their market showrooms.
Sure. Which I found tough, man. Like that was one of the things that once, and you mentioned, starting a family and priorities and things like that. Once I had kid one and I was working at Bluewater and my wife was working in hospital. So it's like 13-hour shifts for her, some days could be 18 hours, right? And it was like, and then you introduce a kid and then you introduce another kid and it's like, I can't, I still look at our mutual friends that we know that are still in the business and they're traveling, they're shooting a show in North Carolina and Maine and they're gone for 7, 8, 9 days. It's like, yeah, it's like, dude,
it's like he's all over the place.
Get out of here. Like, good for you, right? Or even like Ryan Dill is a perfect example of that.
Yeah,
who I love, Ryan Dill, right? And it's like that. And it's a double-sided coin, or a double-edged sword rather. All coins are double-sided. So it's a double-edged sword because he's getting to do some really amazing stuff. Really amazing, right? I mean, he's going to Egypt. He's shooting treasure. He was on Deadliest Catch. I mean, this dude's doing awesome stuff. And then the flip side of that coin, or the other edge of that sword is, hey, my daughter's 16 and I missed her fifth. I missed the last 5 birthdays or whatever. I don't know if that's the case necessarily for Ryan, but that's life.
That's the reality.
That's that life, right? Is that you're missing a lot. And I'm not throwing any shade at anybody. I'm just saying that,
that's just.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I didn't want to do that. Right, my parents, growing up in LA, both my parents had to work their asses off. So Monday through Friday, we saw them in the evenings. We got dropped off at school, but when I say I saw them in the evenings, like we didn't do a lot of dinners together at night. We saw them on the weekends, and that was like, I just didn't want that, man.
Yeah.
I didn't want that life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I feel like I miss quite a bit of my sons growing up,
because
of what I was doing.
Yeah, the nature of what we do.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to make you feel any kind of way about that. It's just the nature of the business, right? It's like you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
So what came after the real estate thing? Furniture. And then what came after furniture?
So prior to the real estate thing, you remember I was telling you I worked for the bank and the guy was a crook, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
FBI comes back.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So the guys with the real estate seminars, they didn't work out right. It was kind of like over a period of a couple of years, they got the whole market got cold for that. People just weren't. It wasn't working.
Weren't falling for it anymore.
Yeah. And the stations that were selling like really cheap time got hip, and it was like, hey, not so cheap anymore. So it was kind of like difficult to make it work financially.
Right.
And so he tried to turn the page, and we tried to do the furniture stuff, and didn't really work. And we had, I think, maybe 8 or 9 people working for us at the time, and had an edit suite and a small studio. And but what was happening behind the scenes, and I didn't know it at the time, was he was laundering cash for a couple of friends. Nothing. The generation of the cash wasn't illegal.
Sure.
But the laundering of the money to prevent paying taxes on it was illegal.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing.
Right.
So he was moving it around between accounts. He was kiting checks and doing some things, really bad stuff. And my first clue that something was amiss was I didn't get a check. I get the word.
Sure.
Hey, I'm not going to be able to pay you this week. But next week we'll be fine.
Red flag.
Yeah. And then next week maybe I'd get a check, maybe I wouldn't. Yeah. And then at the end of the year I'd find out, oh, guess what? He never paid my income taxes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
So now you got to come to the table. Ooh.
Yeah. So the end of that story is that I decided I had to leave. I had to leave. I couldn't deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
But once I left, I was contacted like within a week by the FBI.
Interesting.
And they just wanted to interview me.
Right. Again.
And the agent that I spoke with prefaced, he said, I want you to know up front, this is not about you.
Yeah.
We have no suspicions about you and any wrongdoing.
Yeah.
But we would like if you would
indulge us. Yeah.
Yes, and just tell us what you know. And I was like, I'm more than happy to tell you anything I can that you want to know.
Sure.
So, I interviewed twice. It was never like a deposition, but it was two.
Sure.
two
Yeah.
interviews.
Just yeah. Did they bring up the fact that they had interviewed you before for not the same but a similar?
No.
Yeah, your name came up here.
Yeah, it was like, so that was like 2 strikes. I'm like, what's next?
But it says something about speaking from a consumer angle, right? Because I've never bought anything from TV, but I have bought things from like Instagram or TikTok or whatever.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
You've never bought anything?
Oh, let me back up. So Columbia House. You remember Columbia
sure.
House deal?
Oh, yeah.
So, but that was like, I remember that was like a magazine. You got like not a magazine, but it was like a brochure or something, and you would pick out, and it was the 99-cent deal for 10 CDs.
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing was negative option. You know that term, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So when you signed up for Columbia House, or there was a couple of others, but Columbia House was the main one, the offer was get 10 LPs for $1.
For like 99 cents.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the fine print was, and agree to receive on, like, approval, I think they called it.
Sure.
A record, a new release a month or something.
Yeah, like subscription. Yeah. It was like a subscription.
And then the finer print under that was, if you cancel within the first year, you will still owe XYZ.
Sure.
So it was a negative option. You had the right
but
to.
there was no. But Harry, I did this at 15 years old. There was no.
Exactly.
I mean, like,
exactly.
I'm going to go to hell for that. If there's a hell, I'm going there.
That's what killed that whole thing.
Killed the whole model because there was no consequence, and
most
I just
of the
remember
people doing it were teens underage.
Hell yeah, because it was like
check. It was all male.
Yeah.
Right.
All male. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but to the point, yes. So I did do Columbia House, right?
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I ordered anything else. The only other thing I'm going to tell myself, and it's embarrassing, when we were younger, because it was funny, the only other thing we did by phone was the 900 numbers, because it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because she'd say boob, and we'd be like, because we were like 10 or 9, or we were idiots. And I remember my dad being super pissed off, but no, I never bought anything from TV. No, but people do.
Yeah. I never did much. I think I maybe have bought 1 or 2 things in my life off TV because I know better.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You know how it worked. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the next part of that story was after I left, and I'd made an acquaintance in the furniture industry, a lady named Carolyn Kinder, who was a designer. She designed furniture, accessories, lamps, tables, wallpaper for a bunch of different companies, and then she licensed those designs.
Yeah.
And Carolyn, I had done some video work for her in the markets, and she reached out to me after she found out that the company I was working for had fallen apart, and she was a little upset because she was owed some work by the company that she never collected on, and she'd already paid for, and it was like, well, good luck collecting.
Yeah.
But she was moving her operation.
Stories.
Yeah, she was moving her operation from Kentucky, of all places, to here in Clearwater,
Right.
St. Petersburg. And she reached out to me and said, and this is just about the time that HGTV was kind of taking off and the cable networks were starting to find niches.
Sure.
And she asked me if I would be interested in coming to work with her and helping her market her stuff and maybe help her see about doing something for weekly TV.
Okay.
So I said, well, that sounds interesting, So
yeah, sounds regular.
Yeah.
I like regular checks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to work for Carolyn and worked with her for maybe 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
She's a really nice lady, very talented lady in the design world. She was not an on-camera talent. We shot a pilot. It was called Coming Home with Carolyn Kinder.
Sure.
And it was a design show. It was like, how can you make over your home with just changing accessories or colors?
Feng shui.
And so the pilot was just a 15-minute proof of concept kind of thing. And the opening shot was her just coming down the stairs. It was a really nice house. Coming down the stairs and saying, "Hi, I'm Carolyn Kinder." Blah, blah, blah. And it was like 4 lines. It was nothing. 33 takes, 34 takes, 35 takes.
6 hours later. Yeah, seriously.
It was like it wasn't going to work. And so we finally got something together, and
God bless these people.
Cut it, and it was just awful. And she knew it was awful.
Hold on. So I'm going to hijack real quick. So Colleen had shared a story where you had spent a considerable amount of time on a shoot just getting somebody to say, Did Do you remember
more
this
than
shoot?
once?
So it's
More
like-
than once.
So for context, Harry and I both independently of one another, we pots and pans and cookware is huge in the infomercial industry. It's huge. I mean, it sells. They wouldn't do it if it wasn't making money. And so I've shot definitely a lot of cooking utensils or cookware. I imagine Harry shot at least 10x if I had to take a guess. And so the is the bite that we've all seen. There's a shot that happened 2 days before of the sexiest, prettiest fettuccine alfredo you've ever seen, and then there's the shot you got either that day, 10 hours later, or whatever it was, or the next day, and a pickup shot of somebody taking a bite and just doing the. And to get that, right? So good.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who can do that, and there are people who can't do that.
And there's a lot of people who can't do it.
And there are ways you can try to trick people into doing it. And, if you don't get it.
Show me your best. What's it supposed to look like?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. Yeah, look.
It depends on what you're tasting.
Let's print this thing. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it definitely depends.
So
shooting foods. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah. God, I feel
the
like this
worst.
is like a epic story. It's just crazy.
I said, what did I say to you? I said, I want to hear the epic of Harry.
Okay, well, here
So
you
let's
go.
hear it.
I mean, you can cut this down, obviously.
No, I'm just gonna let it ride.
Oh,
yeah,
jeez.
we'll get until the red light stops.
Okay,
Like, hey,
all right.
sorry, hey, Harry, we're out of
When
tape.
the drive's full, we'll stop.
That's how I run it. Who
Okay.
cares? Yeah, I don't care.
All right.
That'll be fine. The editor will don't keep going. That's fine.
Okay.
This is all good stuff.
All right. So when I left Carolyn, this would be
Well, so let me just tie a bow on that story.
Yeah.
So it didn't work because she was not great on camera,
she was not great on
and
camera.
we needed that to work. Why didn't you
Well-
guys pivot and just find a co-host or something?
So what we did, I will step back.
Yeah. That's the producer in me, by the way.
Instead of doing, we did pivot actually. Instead of doing an HGTV show, which wasn't going to happen, and that pilot never got shown to anyone.
Sure.
It's got burned somewhere.
I never saw the light of day. Yeah.
But she had a relationship with one of the things that she was really good at designing was picture frames and the mats, the decorative mats that go inside of frames.
Sure.
And so she had a relationship with a company that makes mat board, crescent mat board, and they make different kinds of just solid color mat board and foil mat boards and all that.
Yeah, and some of them are like not a felt, but it's some sort of
And
texture.
a lot of really interesting techniques for transforming those into really interesting decorative borders that, if you know the right technique, you can do some really cool things.
Right.
So it's primarily marketing it to the framing trade. And,
Right.
there's
Super
a whole-
niche.
Yeah.
Very
yeah, it is.
niche. Yeah.
So what we wound up doing was we produced 4 Crescent under her name. I think it was a series of 6 videos, hour-long videos on. It was just kind of a how-to,
Right.
Very niche for the trade. That was the last thing I did for Carolyn. I was like, I got to get out of here.
This isn't,
Yeah.
writing on the wall.
So
this is going to work.
I actually had an opportunity. I'd made some connections in the production community by that time. And you may know some of these names, you may not. You know the name George Cornelius?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So George was working at the time at CPN Television. Let me back up. Actually, when I first met George, he was working at WDO, I think it was called. It was on Cypress Street in Tampa. It was George. It was Jeffrey McCowan. Was Frank. Gosh, I know Frank's name as well as I know my own.
I messed up. I got to tell myself. You said George, and I heard, and in my brain I heard Cunha.
Oh yeah, well George Cunha, we all know George.
George
too.
Cunha is the man.
Yeah,
I don't know the person you're talking
So
about. I
George
just want to correct
Cornelius
myself.
was a fixture in production for
Sure.
a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I first met him, he was working at that facility. That's when I was working with the guy with the real estate seminars.
Sure.
And he stiffed him, but we had stayed in touch.
Yeah.
And then when I was working with Carolyn, I reconnected with him. So when I left Carolyn, I recontacted him, and at that time, he was working at CPN Television. Now, I don't know if you know the story of CPN. So
No.
I'm going to give you some backstory
Please.
on the history of the facility that is now Bluewater.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yes, okay.
I don't know it. Oh, I know what Omnicom.
Oh, this is-
and by that I say I know. I mean like dribbles,
This
dude.
is way back.
Sure. Okay.
before that.
Hit me with it.
So
I love it. This is
would
good
be-
stuff. And I promise you, people that are watching this, these are stories they've never heard.
I don't know.
And the stories we're here for.
Probably boring people out of their
I don't give a
minds.
shit. This is why hey, it's my show. All right.
Okay.
Do what I want.
CPN Television is now it is in that facility where Bluewater is now on their same place.
Yeah. Meyer Lake.
Meyer Lake Circle.
Yeah.
Was originally built as a television studio by a gentleman named Stuart Arnold.
Which is why those massive antenna array are outside those satellite dishes.
So if you may remember a publication called Autotrader.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was actually like a printed publication and showed up in convenience stores like all over.
Oh
the
yeah,
country,
yeah.
right?
We all
Yeah.
Listen, I promise. We're in Trinity, Florida. They know Autotrader up here.
Yeah. So I don't even know if they do a printed edition anymore. I don't.
I think
they
it
do.
still might be out there. I haven't seen it.
But he had grown that into this really big business, and they were in I don't know how many hundred markets all over the country. Big deal. Anyway, Cox Publications bought that from him.
Now,
And
is this the same as Cox Media? Same Cox?
Yep,
Okay,
yeah.
same group of Cox?
Earlier iteration, but
Sure,
same. Yeah.
sure.
So Stewart, at the time they bought it, had just decided he wanted to do video versions of Autotrader, but he was going to do them as like little syndicated half-hour things that he could drop into different markets.
Sure.
So he'd like hire stringers, video stringers in each market to go shoot cars, still pictures or whatever. Then they'd slap a little edit together, and they'd have a half-hour show where you could like, oh, I like that car, I'll call about it. So Cox bought the business, but they didn't want the video because it wasn't their thing at that time. They just wanted the print.
Right.
So Stu's deal was he sold them Autotrader Publications. Good luck, and he kept the studio. So like, you know,
What do you do with the studio?
Yeah, he couldn't
Yeah.
compete. So he decided he was going to be in the television business. He didn't know anything about the television.
I know
business.
somebody who makes moves like that. I think we both do. And it's like, hey, guess what? All right, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So he hired some people who did know the television business, George being one of them, and Jeff, and created a sports division, which was kind of an easy end to like start doing sports events and stuff, and built out that studio, which, you know, wasn't ever built correctly because it's got super low overhead, which, you know.
And no
Be
soundproofing.
careful not to hit your head on
And
the
no
line.
soundproofing.
Yeah,
You can hear every C-130 or whatever friggin' Coast
the
Guard
airport.
plane. You can hear every fucking raindrop. You can hear every
All of
light.
it.
Yeah. We live
Yeah.
in Florida. It rains, lightning, all the things. You can hear it all. Yep. Anyway,
Yep.
go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when George was working there, I reconnected with him. He had a couple of projects he needed written. The first thing I did for them was a rebrand for a company called Florida Steel. They were a big steel company in Florida. They had a foundry up at the intersection of 301 and I-10.
Okay.
And their basic business.
301 I-10, that's like, what the hell's the name of the town up there?
Live Oaks in that
yeah,
area?
Yeah,
In that
not
area?
Chiefland. What's that side? There's like speed traps up there all the time.
Oh, that's
301.
That's the speed trap is Waldo.
Waldo, that's
Yeah,
where
yeah.
the prison is. Anyway, is
Yeah.
that the same area roughly?
Yeah, Stark
Give or
is
take.
there, Stark, Waldo.
is where the prison is. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Florida Steel had been bought by a company out of Japan. I think it was, I want to say Kyoki Steel or something. And here's the irony: they rebranded it as Ameristeel.
That's
Japanese
good
company
marketing.
buys it,
Good
and it's
marketing. Yeah,
Ameristeel.
that's good marketing.
So-
Dude, you have a beautiful memory, by the way. Holy shit! Like I'm super impressed. I can't tell you what I ate to eat
Hey,
last
I'm
Tuesday.
dredging stuff up I haven't talked about, and I
I
can't tell you.
love
how
it,
long.
man.
So,
Keep going. Keep
It may
going.
not be. I don't know.
Nah, let them fact
I
check
remember-
this. Who
yeah.
cares? What are they going to fire us?
No.
Can't fire me.
So, and that was a really fun show to write because it was different from anything I'd done. I wasn't
Yeah.
selling widgets. I wasn't promoting a particular, I was rebranding a company. So I got to go to the foundry and shoot them like melting stuff and
Yeah.
pouring. They made rebar was what they did.
Let me pause
basically.
you for a second, just for personal knowledge. So I know you write. I've seen you direct. I've seen you produce pre and post,
Yep.
mostly post. You shoot as well, yes? You're a shooter,
I have, but I don't.
but you're not a DP. You wouldn't consider yourself.
No.
Okay.
Can I light a little?
Sure.
Can I operate a camera? Yes.
Yeah. But just from exposure,
Yeah.
right? Similar to me. Like I can figure. I've figured this stuff out.
I prefer to work with a DP.
Sure.
And we
And
collab-
that's
we-
their-
we collaborate.
Right. Okay. Cool. Just
Yeah,
for
yeah.
clarification. Sorry, I didn't want to hijack. So when you say you went to go shoot this stuff, you're directing
Right.
and producing this stuff. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
So I
Okay.
went with a small crew: shooter, sound guy, lighting guy, I think it was like 6 of us maybe. So we went to the foundry and spent 2 days up there getting interviews and shooting all the stuff. And then I had written a script. And then I actually they gave me a budget to get a composer to actually compose a score for this. It was like I think it was like a 10-minute piece, but it was designed for presentation at a big introductory thing they were doing for all their shareholders and stuff. And it went over really well. So, and George was real happy with it.
Wait, so, and again, this is stock media archives. When you say compose a show,
there were, but at the time it wasn't like digital stuff.
right?
You had to order a tape.
Sure. Yeah.
So
when you say score a
shot
spot, you had to I just think about like the producing of that. It's like you got to find somebody who's got the chops.
There was a local composer actually, and digital production for music was just getting to be a thing. And I couldn't tell you what software he was using. It might have been like an early iteration of Pro Tools. Maybe I don't know. But he
Wait, what's the one that was the PC version that people still use now? It's
Cakewalk.
Cakewalk.
Yeah, Cakewalk. I remember that.
Actually, somebody just texted me today. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to throw it. I just got to tell you because there's another one that I've never used, but I remember my dad uses it. That's how I know it's." He said to me, "I don't want to take too much time." He goes, "Maybe I'll throw it into." He said, "Hold on." There was no limited Audition, Adobe Audition.
Oh, yeah,
okay, so that wasn't it wasn't a PC, it was an Adobe thing. But do people still use Audition?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's actually gotten to be a pretty sophisticated tool in their suite. Things.
Yeah. In a band, Pro Tools was like the one to use. If you were in a band and he was recording on Pro Tools, it was like, oh, this guy's legit. Yeah. Anyway.
Yep. Yeah. So the composer, I can't remember his name. I probably couldn't dredge it up.
Yeah.
But I had kind of this idea for what I wanted to use. I wanted like anvil hits.
Sure.
To the metal, the clang, to kind of go along with it.
Yeah, because you got sparks flying and it was smelting. Yeah, I got it.
And the whole thing was a build. It just kind of built to the end when it was like a big reveal of the name and, Florida Steel is now Ameristeel, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it came off really nice. I was happy with it, and George really loved it, and the client really loved it. So that got me an offer for a job at CPN, and they brought me on as a producer-director. So I worked there for, a year and a half, 2 years, and that's when I met Paul Soltoff. Now, you know that name?
No.
Okay. So Paul was my business partner for a long, long time. We met when I was working at CPN. He had just moved to Florida from, his family was living in Philly. He had been working in Chicago. He was working for Saatchi Direct and doing a lot of marketing for Montgomery Ward's products, which had a big business at the time, selling all kinds of products online.
Yeah.
But anyway, he had moved to Florida and with his family for a variety of reasons, but he was actively seeking clients, and he picked up a client called Hoveround.
Yeah.
Who had never done direct marketing. They had always done direct mail. That was it.
Yeah.
And so we talked him into doing commercials, and he knew how to buy remnant time, and he knew all that. He had a third-party media company he worked with. And so he came to CPN to get the production done, and I was assigned that project.
You were the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we produced the first Hoveround commercial there at CPN, and kind of hit it off. Got along really well, worked really well together, good collaboration. And in the space of maybe 6 months after doing that commercial, we stayed in touch, and he said, I want to take my business to the next level, and I need somebody like you working with me. Are you interested?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's a big step, because I was at CPN. It's a fairly well-established company, I thought. I had benefits. I had a nice salary.
Secure. You had the security. And again, that's the biggest thing in production that's tough, is that when you have a family, you're building a life. Security's nice.
Yeah. But Paul Paul's a great salesman.
Sure.
And he had a vision. And so I said, let's talk to my wife. And she said, can't do any worse than some of the crap you've already been into. So let's give it a try.
This is two FBI, two FBI calls. Can't get worse than this.
Interestingly, Stu Arnold, who was still there at the time got really pissed off because he was like, he's poaching my talent.
Yeah,
And
that's a big thing in this industry.
Yeah.
Especially in this market.
Yeah. And Stu, which I had no clue, but when he pulled me on the carpet for this lecture after I told him I was leaving and he found out why and knew where I was going to work, he was like, I had big plans for you. I was going to put you in charge of this facility.
That's fucking.
Blah, blah, blah.
We've all heard that song, dude.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
So, yeah.
If you did, then you would. You know, if you did, then you would have.
Yeah.
That's my attitude now at soon to be 43 years old. Is like, nah, man. I fell for a lot of those songs. And listen, as a musician, I love music. So when people sing certain songs, I'm like, I like this song.
Yep.
I don't listen to that music anymore,
Nope.
man. I've changed my genre of music. But anyway, sorry. Good.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
So Paul, my relationship with Paul was a good one. It lasted from 1997, 98.
And this is Acquire-G. Am I saying it right? Acquire-G?
There's several iterations.
Acquire-G. How do you say it?
Acquire-G.
Acquire-G. I said it right the first time. All right.
Yeah. And it eventually became Acquire-G, but
Sure.
it went from Soltoff Direct to DNA to two other iterations and then ended up as Acquire-G. But we
And
started.
then it became DNR, right? Like, do not resuscitate. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, that's what eventually
Yeah,
happened.
exactly. No,
That's what eventually happened.
Listen, I think it's Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you know Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has the saying, the only ships that don't sail are partnerships. And there's some take what he says with a grain of salt. I don't follow him immensely, but like that one line was like, it's true.
Yeah.
Because even in bands, man, like
hell yeah.
there's two sayings: is that a band that plays together stays together, which works in partnerships, right? If you get along, and then sometimes you got to go along to get along. But now again, in my wisdom as a older gent, it's like, partnerships, they're the only things that don't sail. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is why it's just me.
Well,
I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to take shit from anybody. If I'm doing it wrong, it's on me. If it wins, it's on me. I do leverage partnerships and friendships and relationships, but no, dude.
yeah. It's never easy.
It's not easy, dude.
And what happened with us, it was Paul and I to start, and then Hover-Round was our first client. We did the commercial together at CPN, and then we did a whole series of commercials for Hover-Round after very successful ones and grew their business from like 4 or 5-fold from like $2 or $3 million a year into like 15, 16, 17, 18
like
million
big
dollars a
bucks,
year.
yeah, printing
And the ones
money.
that really put them on the map and now put us on the map was a series of commercials we did with two of their customers, two nice little old ladies who were in hover-rounds.
Yeah.
And we took them to the Statue of Liberty and we took them to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I can go anywhere in my hover-round.
Right.
And those commercials just kind of took off.
So let's back up a little bit. For those that don't know what the Hover-Round is, and not that this is an advertisement for them, but
They're still in business.
Yeah, I know they are. So what is the Hover-Round?
So it's a mobility chair, an electric mobility chair. And what differentiates it from scooters is the fact the way it's designed, it can sort of turn on itself.
Sure.
In other words, it doesn't have a big turning radius. So you can turn in
Like
through
R2D2 moment.
Kind of, yeah.
Sure.
You can turn in through small doorways, and it's very maneuverable, and it's just a joystick,
Right.
and pretty easy to learn.
Yeah.
So that took off, and we did a whole series of commercials for them after that, kind of following the same idea. Joy and Bernice were the two ladies' names.
Yeah.
And one of the funniest things about that set of commercials was it gained so much notoriety that Jay Leno riffed on it on The Tonight Show when he was hosting The Tonight Show. He, and I don't remember the exact lines.
Hey,
I'm probably not doing it
No,
right.
that's good. Go.
But he said something like, have you seen, I can't do Jay Leno, have you seen that commercial for Hover-Round?
Yeah.
Do you really think it's a good idea to put two old ladies on the rim of the Grand Canyon in those vehicles?
Dude, right. So, so this is reminding me of a story. Okay, so do you remember Bluewater did American Badass Grill with Kid Rock?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was the first job I got hired on to work with Bluewater, and it went like this. I was working for Tim Arrington and with Chris Wilson. You know Chris Wilson, yes? Okay. And speaking of writing on the wall, there was writing on the wall, and I had learned a thing or two, and I'd cut my teeth, and they were super gracious, and I'd learned a lot. And then there were some things that felt off. And so I was like, shit, I got to like update my LinkedIn. I think I got to start looking for other work, right? And so the story goes like this, and it's confirmed by Rob and Brandon, which is great. But I'm like, all right, I created a LinkedIn. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck LinkedIn is. I got to create a LinkedIn. And I'm just like, and it's very suggestive. People you know, and I'm just like, add people I've even heard of. I think I worked with Rob one time on this like bump key commercial we did. Anyway, so I'm just like, frantically adding people. And their story is they're sitting on set. They just landed a bunch of gigs. They're shooting Corvettes with Ann Burrell. They just got this Kid Rock thing. They have a shit ton going on. They're blowing up, and they're like, fuck, we need a bigger boat. Who are we going to hire? And the story goes is Rob's on his phone, and picking, hey, Justin Velarde wants to connect. And they both look at each other. And so Brandon and Nolan invite me to Chick-fil-A right there on Olmerton. They go, hey, you want to go to lunch? And I was like, yeah, I love lunch. Yeah, lunch is a good thing. You don't get a body like this by not eating lunch, Harry. And so we meet at Chick-fil-A, and literally over Chick-fil-A, BA goes, so what would you think about this? And I was just like, yeah, instantly, yes, I'll take it. And they didn't tell me I was going to go. They didn't mention Kid Rock. They didn't mention anybody. They just said, hey, do you want a job? I said, yeah, absolutely, I would love to. The day I get hired, I get in a car with Amy Howell and Jody Welch, the hair and makeup. We get in a car and we drive to Alabama.
Oh, my God.
Just get in the car. Now, at that time, I smoked cigarettes. They don't. At that time, I'm like 2-ish, 3-ish years into the biz, but not only maybe 1 year into direct response. So like, and then Bluewater was like, oh my God, it's Bluewater, right? From the time of Chick-fil-A to the job, like I did a bunch of digging. I was like, holy shit. And I asked Tim and Chris, hey, I ask around, and everybody was like, yeah, that's a great move, right? Everybody blessed it. And so we get there in Alabama, and the first shot, man, and Ryan Dillow's there, and the first shot is they're launching catapults. They have a giant Acme, it says Acme on it, a catapult, and they're launching foreign-made grills, into the heavens, and Chris Rock and the co-host, I forget her name, she's very pretty, and some other person just lighting this thing up, okay? I'll get to the point of the story. So Stephen Colbert, when he was on Comedy Central at the time, dripped specifically the special effects. Okay, because the truth is about this shot, they couldn't hit shit. Like they were launching these things, and no one could land a shot at all on this thing, right? And so in post, I won't say who, but we know who. Let's say it. Had added, some and a little bit of sparkage here and blah, blah, blah. But, dude, blasted on national TV, Comedy Central by Stephen Colbert, which was, to me,
a badge of honor. Yeah.
I think so, too.
Of course.
Yeah, dude, like, whatever, man. Like, listen, I've caught wind, not online, but, like, in circles or somebody talking shit about what I'm doing. Who cares? You get to a point where you just don't give a shit. In fact,
it's like
they're talking about it.
Yeah, do you remember it? Did you remember it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about it. That's all I want you to do is talk about it. Whether you love it or, good press, bad press, I'll take all the press I can get. Anyways, I didn't mean to hijack the story, but it's just very funny. All right, so.
I'm trying to speed this up now. So
yeah, that's all right.
So after Hover Around, this is like 2001. And at that time, we'd grown the business. We were actually actively buying media through a third party, but we had an in-house media department for a variety of clients, some of which we produced for, some of which we didn't. We had hired a bunch more people. I don't know how many we had at that point, maybe 20, 25 people working for the company. And we picked up as a client the first show we did for Shark.
Yeah.
Through a gentleman named Jeff Frankel, who was their VP of marketing, an acquaintance of Paul's through the DR back channels.
Sure.
And they were looking for somebody to produce. They'd been using somebody else. They'd done a couple of shows that hadn't worked all that well. And they were
for Shark.
Yeah, and they were introducing
and they just
this new
weren't
product.
hitting.
It was the Shark cordless.
So they bring in the hit man.
Well, at that point, we didn't really have a track record, except for Hover Around.
Right. Yeah, but hover around crushed.
Yeah.
It was on Leno.
And hover around was a really different animal because
Sure.
it was basically the person qualified via their doctor.
Yeah.
They didn't have to come out of pocket at all. It was all
Sure,
Medicare.
Medicaid,
thing.
yeah.
And that eventually got like really kind of tightened
Yeah,
down
yeah,
and kind of went away. It's still in business and they still have is a similar model, but it's different.
Right, sure.
But anyway, we picked up the shark account.
Wait, hold on. Let me stop real quick. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. There was a question I had when you were talking about the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
So, whose idea was that?
Paul's. Paul was, he's one of the most brilliant people I know as far as like coming up with grabber ideas.
Right.
You know? It was
Yeah,
like-
hooks.
Yeah.
Right. You need a hook.
It's like, and you're like telling a story, you know, it's like you're solving a problem. So the story goes, once upon a time, there was this problem. People that had these motor issues or COPD issues, they can't
Sure.
get around,
Right.
you know? But we have a solution for that
We've
problem.
mobilized.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. They can go anywhere now.
Literally.
Yeah, yeah. Cruises.
Yeah.
Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island,
Yeah.
Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon.
So-
dude, it's so that is very much such the infomercial, like extreme.
Yeah.
How extreme can you get? And it's brilliant.
In the
I
Grand
love
Canyon
it.
shoot,
Yeah.
we rented a copter out of L.A. and the DP was in the copter, and we were on the rim of the canyon. And we
Why not Vegas? Vegas is right there.
couldn't get one out of Vegas
I
at the
couldn't-
time. I don't
yeah.
remember all the details.
Sure, the details.
But
Yeah.
it flew out of L.A.
Yeah.
But we had them right on the rim of the canyon. Beautiful shot. Camera tracks around, from the air, and
And your monitor. So it was. So again, I'm
we
not
were
trying
blind on the
to.
ground.
You're blind. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the
So,
scariest.
yeah. So we knew what we wanted.
Sure.
So,
but you don't know if you got it.
Right. So what happened was, this was crazy. The copter did like 2 or 3 passes. 'Cause
Sure.
we kind of bored it out. We know what we wanted to do. And so after 2 or 3 passes, and we're in communication on the radio, he lands and like blows dust and crap everywhere.
Yeah, just jacks everything up. Yeah, exactly.
We were in this really remote area of the canyon. It was on the place called Quartermaster Point. It's on the Hualapai Indian Reservation.
Sure.
It's like south of Peach Springs, out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, like you drive literally from Route 66, you drive 2 hours out into the desert, and then all of a sudden there's this
No
huge
cell
hole
phone.
in the
Yeah,
ground.
no cell phone reception or nothing. Right.
No. So
awesome.
when he lands, we
Awesome.
looked at the playback and was like, yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
So, but that was a really fun shoot. And like I said, we did several more after that, following those 2 women and other women, and we had them as a client for a very long time.
And who's your producer on this? Right. When does Colleen enter the chat?
Quite a while later.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. All right.
yeah,
So I just
yeah.
want to give
I'm
her
trying to
her credit.
remember
When she's in there.
the producer on some of our early stuff
Yeah.
was, God rest his soul, Bruce Dworsky's first wife, Pam Dworsky, who was a
wow.
producer in the business at the time. And I don't know where Pam is these days, but she produced a number of things for us. Early
And rest
on.
his soul too, Bruce Dworsky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God-
such a shame.
God bless him.
Such a shame. Yeah.
That got us to the first thing with Shark. In the first Shark show, we shot in what is now Bluewater on the A stage, and it was at that time it was called Diamond P Productions.
Diamond P.
Yeah.
Sounds fishy.
Jeff was there, and Jeff McCowan, and a couple other people that were holdovers from CPN. They had sort of made a deal and were running it.
Hung out. Yeah.
And one of the things that I know you're wanting to hear is like things that go wrong. And that shoot was like the first one that really went wrong in a strange way. So the Shark cordless sweeper is a very lightweight, battery operated, rechargeable. It was like the first one. It was kind of like the things they use in restaurants that aren't motorized.
Sure. Yeah, like a Bissell.
It was like the genesis of that, except it had a
It
motor
was
in
like a push. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like you'd push it,
Yeah.
and it was just a thing that would
And the
use.
thing weighed like I don't know, 3 pounds, 4
You could
pounds.
lift it with the pinky. I remember that shot.
Lift it with the pinky. But the gag was we put balloons on it.
Oh, okay.
So they could kind of float. The host and Mark, who was the head of Shark, could float it back and forth across the shot. And so one of the ideas we had was, well, at the end we're just going to fly away. It's just going to
to the
float away.
heavens. Yeah.
So
okay. It's a
my
great shot.
my prop guy on that shoot was Scott Remington. Scott?
Yeah.
So Scott will, if he sees this, he'll remember.
Yeah.
So we said, well, we got to put monofilament on it because we don't want to see the line.
Right.
And it needs to be strong enough that it won't pop loose.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, it was some big heavy weight, like 24 pound or something. He was like, it'll never pop that. And it had, I don't know how many balloons on it, but it was definitely positive buoyancy, so it would float up.
Yeah.
So we're outside in the back by the water.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, so back.
Yeah, we
okay.
had beautiful clear blue sky, just
Nice.
what we wanted.
No
Nice
prison
puffy
back.
white
No prison buildings yet.
Nope. So, we're let it go, and then it starts going up, and he's feeding the line, and I said, okay, just hold it right there. That's a good place because we had nice clouds and it was just in the right spot.
Sure.
He's holding, all of a sudden it goes, bink, bink. It's just going,
Dude.
going. So my producer at the time
Oh, that's so great,
was,
dude.
it was Diane Fody. I'll tell you about Diane in a minute.
You used like 2-pound test on this freaking
was
monofilament?
24.
Get
And it
out.
popped it. And I don't know how
Get
many
out.
balloons
Maybe
it
it's
was.
the heat.
So here we are thinking, so there's an airport,
Yeah.
an international airport 2 miles away
Yeah, exactly right.
with a landing pattern
Yeah.
that,
And the Coast Guard and everybody. Yeah, right.
so
Oh, Jesus.
they're actually on the phone to the FAA, to the tower at the airport.
Oh, Jesus.
Saying something ridiculous like, we have a floor cleaning product tied to a bunch of balloons, and it may be in your flight path.
Yeah, exactly. Gee. How many balloons are on this thing? Like, what, a dozen?
I don't know,
The 2
or
dozen?
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
jeez, get out.
Yeah. So
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got the shot.
Oh, yeah.
But
Great shot.
And I have no idea where that eventually came down. Somewhere.
Oh, it came down. Probably in the ocean.
Could be in the bay.
Yeah,
could be
definitely in the bay.
Sarasota, could be
Yeah.
anywhere.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
I remember, as a kid, you would let balloons go, and it was like, oh, look at it go, right? And like now as an adult, I was like, oh my God, easily 50 balloons that are in the gutter, eventually in the ocean. I feel horrible
Yeah,
about
they
it. But
wind up in turtle stomachs.
yeah, or wherever the hell they end up. Yeah.
So-
but anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. So that was the first shark show.
Fun show.
Eventually did, I'll condense this. We eventually did.
You're so concerned with time, and I love that about you because I think it's in our nature as directors.
It is.
But don't worry about it. Unless you have unless you have to use the restroom or something.
No.
But please just be yourself.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No rush.
We eventually did 24 half hours for Shark and introduced a lot of their products. We did the first Ninja show for the blender, which was the start of that whole Ninja line.
and that's the handheld one that you'd punch in?
Yeah.
Like the cup,
you
the
turn
cup
top.
blender.
You
Yeah,
turn
yeah,
the
yeah.
top. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did a lot of successful shows for them. I don't remember what our hit rate was, but it was a really good hit
Enough
rate.
to where they kept
like 1 out
calling
of
you for
4,
shows.
1 out of 5.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And of course, their model, and this is to Mark's credit. Mark Rosenswag is his name. He's the president. He goes by Mark Rosen on the air.
He's the bald fella.
Yeah. But to his credit, he and Jeff and others in his marketing department understood that it wasn't just about selling the product on TV as a DR product. It was a way to brand the product.
It was about the brand.
It was a way to have the campaign pay for itself.
Sure.
And drive retail.
Right.
And he was one of the first people to really get that and do it.
The
and
retail
scale it
relationship. Yeah.
And scale it.
Yeah.
And he scaled it big time.
Oh, yeah.
And it paid off
Oh,
in
yeah.
a big way for him. And then, of course, a lot of other people have followed suit. But he
Right.
was really the first to do
was the
that.
guy.
Yep. With our help, I might add.
Oh, of course. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he didn't do it alone. Well, those weren't his ideas.
But he's a smart marketer. He really is. Yeah. And not always easy to work with.
Yeah,
but
that's the rumor.
Yeah.
And again, I've outside of you, I don't know any. Oh, actually, you know what? I did a stint at HSN, and I never did anything with him, but I did help somebody that was repping some shark stuff. And I had heard some horror stories. But here's the thing, too, about these horror stories. I have my own horror stories about me, where sometimes I'm just having a shitty day. Or, you're under pressure or, whatever. No excuses. But, sometimes just you're not at your best. And I'll go back to an earlier point I made about you specifically. I'm sure you have those. But I looked for those stories. They don't exist, man. What's your secret? You do yoga?
I don't know. I mean, I can think of one or two instances where I lost it, on the set. If something, not necessarily when things go wrong, but when people's minds aren't on their job.
Sure.
And it's costing time,
Right.
or it's making me do a shot again that I shouldn't have to do again.
Because we had it, unless,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Those kind of things put me on edge. And if it happens, too many times, I will rip people. I've done it.
Sure.
It's rare. It's rare. But so the Shark thing worked out really well for us. Like I said, we did a whole bunch of shows for Shark. And that's where I first met actually Rob and Andy when they were at 16 at WSF, because I shot a lot of
How old?
Well, this would have been in the late 20, like around 2010.
Sure.
2011.
Sure.
Somewhere in there. I can't remember when I did the first show at WSF, but they were both there.
Yeah.
And so they have a lot of Shark stories.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a few war stories, that would be shared over the years. Because again, I did 9-10 years, I think, at Bluewater. A lot of good years.
Yeah.
Way more good years than bad years.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. So we did Shark stuff, and then we picked up a whole bunch of other clients along the way. We wound up doing a lot of big brand clients that liked the model of being able to run a campaign, have it essentially pay for itself, but drive retail in a significant way, and to be able to track that.
Yeah, but what do you think? So when you do Shark the vacuum, and then which flew away, and then you do the blender, what do you think? What are you realizing in doing these as a director, as a writer? You wrote these spots too, I imagine, or had a part in writing them, I'm sure.
Yeah. So most of the Shark stuff was written as a collaboration from Paul and myself.
Sure.
Paul would usually do a draft, and then I'd take it, and play
push
with
it over
and then we'd play back and forth.
Try to get it over the finish line.
And the interesting thing about Shark scripts, and I'm not really telling stories out of school because everybody that's ever worked with Mark Rosen knows this, we would have a shoot scheduled. We'd have a day planned before the actual start of the shoot when Mark would come in and we'd review all the demos we were going to do.
Sure.
And, he could give us any tweaks he needed for the dirt guys to figure out how to do XYZ.
Or kill a demo or whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But leading up to that and the script development, we'd be passing the script back and forth to whoever the marketing person was, with the understanding that Mark was reviewing the script as it was being written.
This is the best.
So that we wound up on the day he arrives with an approved script.
Sure. Yeah.
Never happened.
Never fucking happens. What is that? What is that?
Never happened.
How does that happen?
He would show
though?
up on the rehearsal day.
I hate that shit.
And
dude.
it would be like, we're ready to rehearse and show him
with
demos. And
big, beautiful blue eyes, that of a child. He's seeing it for the first time of his life.
He was
Get out of here.
He was
dude.
like, can we read through the script? And I said, yeah, but we really need to go through. We have 24 demos.
I'm going to say something. This is my opinion only, and it does not represent Harry Greene at all. Clients, we send you these things with ample time to review them. Please review them on the flight over. I don't know. There's an idea because you don't live in Tampa. Yeah. There's plenty. When you're taking a dump, take your phone out. Everybody, you're on your phone anyways. Come on, stop scrolling through TikTok and read the fucking script we sent you. Sorry.
Make notes.
That's my tangent. Take some notes.
Yeah.
Jesus.
No.
Sorry, Harry, continue. No. That's my tangent.
So imagine 20 whatever shows and everyone was the same.
Just brand new.
Show up on the rehearsal day, and it was like, can we read through the script? And I knew what was coming. So
well, hold on. Let me be fair. A little bit that's okay, because even I would do that. I've read these scripts, or I was working really closely with Brian Fasulo, and so he's toiled, I'm toiling. You toil, because that's where brilliance comes from. You chew it up, you spit it out, you swallow. That's the game. So day of, you can be in the moment. We plan this. And the collaborative, right, which is when you're part of a crew. If you're part of a good crew and you're good at what you're doing, it's a collaborative effort. And somebody might go, hey, dude, instead of this, let's try this. That's okay. You don't want it to be so rigid that it's too stiff.
No.
But you don't even know what we're – come on, man.
No. And what every one of those shows turned into was at least a half to three-quarter rewrite overnight so that we could start shooting the next day.
Right. Or day of.
And we didn't start shooting – the next day until he did review the demos and then changed half of them. So, the first day of shooting the first half of it was a waste.
Yeah.
So we'd always go late. Always go late. Ask Rob about that.
Oh yeah. Well, ask anybody in production. That's not unique to Shark or Bluewater or anybody. I think that's a unique. So which actually leads me to a question that isn't in there, but I want to ask: when have you ever not gone over? And that's not a dig on you. I'm just saying, isn't that like part and parcel of production?
It is.
You go over.
It is, but occasionally the stars align.
Yeah.
And you
wrap early.
It's approved, and well, at least on time, or maybe an hour over.
Sure.
Not like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, dude.
Jesus. I mean, how many of those?
Too many. Enough to where I don't want to do it. I stopped doing it.
Yeah. And then the overnights in post too. It's like, geez, got to hit the deadline. So here we are.
Yeah. Which, it feels like a good time. I don't want to finish the story, but it feels like a good time. I want to get into some of those production struggles, because when I tell people that aren't in production, that don't have, clearly I don't have nearly the experience you have, but that don't know our world, it's so wonderful. Like, what do you mean you make commercials? Like, all this stuff is really cool to them because they don't get it.
Yep.
And when I would bring either my kids or family or whoever to Bluewater, which is a beautifully impressive space, or even when I bring people in here, they go, holy shit. And I look at this and I go, I'm proud of it, but it's like, dude, this is fucking nothing. We should go to let's go to even USF was rad. Like, I can take you to a real studio. This is just a small little space that I've created for myself. It's easy to forget how really magical it is, because people don't do this.
Yeah.
They don't understand what goes into this. Yep. Even when you walked in, you were like, wow, the space, everybody that comes in here goes, wow, the space actually looks bigger online. It's like, that is production. That is the power of lighting and cameras and television. Exactly. So anyway, I don't want to hijack. Continue, but I want to get to some of the complications of production.
We're about to kind of come back to the present day.
Sure.
So in doing all the Shark shows, very successful, helped us pick up a bunch of other big major clients, KitchenAid, Bissell eventually.
I want to talk about KitchenAid and lighting round-shaped surfaces.
Oh, yeah. But a lot of other major clients that we had. And the company was very successful for a long time. Like I said, we first met and started the business in 97, 98, and we closed it down, made a joint decision between all our partners to close the business in 2015. Okay. So for a variety of reasons, which I won't.
Sure, it doesn't matter.
But in 2015 is when I went out on my own and started Waking Dream
Pictures. Yeah.
With the intent of keeping some of the clients that we had with Acquire-G, and one of the partners, and I, not Paul, but another partner, and I decided to keep, one of which was KitchenAid. We kept them for another 4 or 5 shows, and 2 other clients that we had, and then Stephen Morvay was the other partner's name, and he kept a couple of the other partners on his own that were more media related than production related.
Sure.
And then I started just writing and freelancing, stuff on my own. Right. And Andy and Rob give me a bunch of stuff, and then I did a lot of writing projects for a lot of other folks.
And a lot of post, man. You were like the fixer.
I'm like, if I'm shooting a show, or if I wrote a show and directed it, and it's a luxury, to be able to write and direct it both, because you kind of oversee, kind of what it is you have in mind.
Well, yeah, nobody knows it better than you.
Yeah, so that just, I feel like I need to be in post for that.
Sure.
At least I want to do the first cut on your own based on the script and what you got, and then let me look at it, and then let's talk.
Right.
And then let's figure out.
Well, and if you're lucky enough to have a script soup, then you can hey, this take was better.
Yeah.
They can at least get that rough a little bit closer to a V1, we'll call it.
And I always try to work with a supervisor, because if I don't have a scripty, and you don't know what shot's what, and it's a nightmare.
It's a blur.
It's a nightmare.
It's like
and
because you remember that, hey, no, there was a better moment than this, but where the hell it was, it just becomes like, it's just time, and time is money.
And just a real quick side note, at Acquire-G, my senior editor was Chris Brimmer.
Oh, yeah.
So
Brimmer.
Brimmer's working at Bluewater now.
Yeah.
And Chris is great. And
doing great stuff over there.
And he's seen the really ugly side of having to produce simultaneously 4 infomercials in post with 2 editors because it was Chris and a guy named Brad Barkley.
Oh yeah, I remember Brad.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Brad actually was with CPN for a while.
Oh wow.
Back in the day.
Yeah, he did some stuff with Chris Wilson and HM3. Yeah, which was Tim Harrington's.
Oh yeah. So, but Brad and Chris were my 2 editors, and God bless them. I mean, they just were great and saved that company's bacon on more than one occasion because they just like. I remember at one point, I don't remember all the shows. I think they were Hoover shows. We had 3 in production simultaneously that had the same deadline.
Sure.
So we shot them back to back to back. They went into post, and I mean, it was literally two weeks of nonstop, around the clock shift work.
Sure.
And
you're just like a line cook. Order up.
Yeah, really.
Order up.
Exactly.
Jesus.
And then the big problem is getting it to time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pretty good at getting shows to time.
Yeah.
Even on a second cut.
Yeah.
But some of those shows, especially the shark shows, I'll tell you, because Mark would never follow a script.
No,
he'd add
because he didn't even. He just read it. How was he supposed to follow it?
I'd give him cue cards with bullet points, and he'd
Doesn't
just
matter.
riff. He'd just talk.
Yeah.
And you wind up in post.
There's a couple of people that like that. Tony Little's that way. Who else did we work with that would just riff? And again, God bless them, they're good at it.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is that they know the pitch. There's no passion in the pitch anymore because you've done it a fulfillion times. And so as the director that's looking for a little bit of this, a little bit of, and it's like so you're going, hey, oh yeah, that's good, let's take it again, and it's like, or you've already said that because it's not scripted, it's redundant. We already got this, I need you to say these USPs or this line or whatever.
Yep.
It gets fucking tough, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, good.
I was going to just briefly digress because I didn't really get a chance to talk about Colleen.
No, it's okay.
Colleen came into the picture with Acquire-G a little later on, and she didn't originally come in as a producer. She originally came in on the account side, but was a really good producer, and she did a really good job at that. The other producer I had that I think I mentioned early on, beginning, was a lady named Diane Fody. God rest her soul. She's since passed away. But she came out of New York, and she was a producer on episodic television, worked for Dick Wolf on Law and Order. And
we all know the name.
The original Equalizer.
Yeah, that's a big name.
So she was a good producer, and she didn't take any crap from anybody. So a lot of the crew and stuff did not like her.
Sure. Well, yeah.
Because she was like always holding people's feet to the fire, and always trying to do the best for the budget and all that. She was really good at what she did.
Yeah.
But she eventually left.
Yeah.
And had a couple of interim producers. I used freelance folks, and then we got Colleen, and Colleen eventually moved into production along with a lady named Darlene Florio, and they were both really, really good. And then I
So what makes a good producer?
It's logistics. It's like keeping a bunch of balls in the air at one time. It's overseeing the budget, the crew, the cast, the locations, transportation, scheduling, all the things that that go into keeping it working so you finish on time, on budget, and deliver what you're supposed to deliver, having shot everything you need to shoot. And that's a difficult job, and people who can do it well are rare.
Yeah.
They are really rare.
So when I started producing, this was all dark, man.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, why do you think I wear a hat? I got some up there, but I'm definitely silver foxes for sure. But yeah, when I started, man, it's a grind, dude.
Yeah,
it kills you.
It really does.
It kills you.
And my last producer at Acquire-G was a lady named Tara Runkle.
Oh yeah, Tara. Yeah.
She came
Tara's great.
She came out of HSC.
And her daughter, not her daughter, I think it's her sister,
Lauren.
She does a lot of set decking and stuff. She's brilliant as well.
Yep.
Super talented family.
Yep.
Yeah, beautiful family.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so Tara worked for me, I guess, 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
Lose track. But she's very good at what she does. And, we're still in touch and still kind of working on a couple of projects, which we can talk about.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear because I see you on Facebook, I see you around. I'm not in the commercial side with big brands. I'm doing more, small, medium businesses and stuff. So you lose track a little bit outside of talking to BA and Nolan and Rob and texting with Ricky and stuff like that. Like I kind of lost track of that world because it's a world of its own, man. It's a whole universe of its own.
It is.
And when I heard you first say it, like, hey, I'm still working on some stuff, I don't know why I assumed you weren't, that you're taking it easy, because you definitely fucking earned it. But I love to hear that you're still doing it.
Yeah, and
it's awesome.
Like I said, I've been taking direct response assignments.
Sure.
I've been doing some of those.
Yeah.
And some non-direct response stuff.
Yeah.
Some writing. But my direction now is I want to do what I really wanted to do when I started school, which is I wanted to make films.
I just want to dance, right?
I'm just kidding. Yeah. And things get in the way. You have to make money, so you do what you need to do to make money. And,
exactly right. Well, Mozart called that his bread and butter music. So all the hits that we know, Mozart, all the ones that you can recite. Anyway, he hated those songs. But those were the hits. Those were the monies that paid him to play the songs that none of us can tell you the titles of because they're in some key and it's some weird, Latin or whatever. But yeah, you got to eat the shit to pay for, passion projects are here, bread and butter here, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I get it.
And I just haven't really done, and I suppose it's because I never really wanted it badly enough to make the opportunities to make it happen. Because I think back now that I could have.
Sure.
I just kind of went along and did what I did to make the money and keep the career going. But with this always on the back burner, that someday I'll get to do that. So I'm at a point now where
some days
I don't have to work all the time. Sure. And so if an interesting project comes along that I can make some money at, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'm working on some other things.
I'm happy that you're doing that because a lot of people have this someday, one day story and don't see it.
Yeah, and I'm not
because we got this. This is it. Well, brother man, me neither, right? Like same, but different. Yeah, like this is it. This is the show, right? And like part of all this and Velarde Digital was like, shit, man. Like this is it. This is my life. This is my time.
So tell me,
I could have worked for Bluewater forever.
Yeah, tell me what prompted your move away from Bluewater.
Havana.
Oh, that's the shoot we did together.
100%. Yeah, and I can tell you the story. Okay, so you remember that shoot, yes?
I do remember that shoot.
Okay, so... Okay, all right. I thought I was prepared to tell the story, but I'll do my best. Okay, so that shoot, long form, I had started in long form as an AD, working with Chris Wilson in the Harringtons at HM3. But when you're an AD, you're, at least in that capacity, I was a glorified producer. I think they gave me a sweet title to make me feel good, and it did.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what it meant. I remember leaning on Chris a lot, like, yo, like, what do you want me to do, right? Because, like, craft services and locations and all the stuff you mentioned, talent and crew and scheduling and money and props, dude, easy peasy. I got all that, right? But, like, that whole next level was just weird. So anyways, when I finally got into doing directing and producing, it was just constant trial by fire, Harry, and like you spend a lot of time. I didn't go to school. I'm learning. People had faith in me. They gave me opportunities that, looking back, maybe I didn't deserve, but I got them anyways. Even the phone call that I got from Brandon, hey, you want to come work from Bluewater? I was like so fucking happy that coming from a band, right, and no formal education, that like, oh shit, this is something like, this is a real industry, and this is a super rad career, and I'm seeing all these dudes. I'm seeing Harry. I'm seeing, all of the guys we know. This, and you're meeting them and you're like, holy shit, this is a whole industry and a very prestigious and a very noble and a very real industry that is not me working at a Home Depot or some of the things that in my mind, at least on paper, that I would have been qualified for in the restaurant, right? Like I worked in restaurants. I was a bartender, right? If not a musician. So I was just for years constantly grateful for the opportunity that had presented itself to me, and for the people that had taken a chance on me and given me the opportunity. And so I did that for years. And then, you eat a lot of shit, man. And not just from clients, I think, and not necessarily from bosses or agencies. I just think you just take a lot of hits. You have to have really thick skin, and you have to have there's a bravery and a confidence and a fortitude that you must have, in my experience, to survive in the direct response production world in this area, which is the only area I know. I didn't work in LA, didn't work in New York, okay? So, the Hempvana shoot, when I was presented with producing that long form and directing it, right? And it's multi-camera, and it's like a 20-plus person crew, and it's 2 hosts and multiple segments, and there's a doctor, and there's some technology involved, and there's all these tricks, and we're shooting fucking outside, and it's like 32, windows. You were there, and it's all the things that could go wrong. It's not a controlled studio environment. We're on location. It's all the things, and I had a record of crushing it in 2 minutes, and now I'm doing a 30. It was just a really ambitious day. Right. And I think I knew again, this goes back to my earlier point. You're the guy we call when I'm like, I'm even over my fucking head. And I remember talking to Brandon, and I want to say either probably Rob, and saying, hey, dudes. Oh, and Brian Fasula was the executive on that one. So it was like, hey, I'm in over my head on this. I know all the segments. I know all the line. Most of all the lines. I get it. I've scouted this place. I've done all the work, Harry. I've checked all the fucking boxes, and I don't feel like I'm not ready for this. Right. So, hey guys. I think it was Brandon that was like, yo, call Harry. And I was like, okay, am I allowed to do that? Because again, I don't want to say we're pinching pennies, but there's a budget, there's an expectation. And I had a reputation there of just like crushing budgets. In fact, toot my own horn a little bit. I was asked by multiple C-suite executives to be like, hey, can you teach everybody else how to like not blow fucking budget? And I was like, yeah, it's really easy. Work. Go to fucking work. Right? It's not that hard. Clock in, dude. Like, put your hat on and get it done. And so anyway, I had done the work, man. I knew there was money in the budget for a Harry Greene type person. And so when they said, that was the first time I'd ever really called you or had reached out to you. And again, you were always around Bluewater. I'd watched you work. I'd seen your shows. KitchenAid had already happened with the hurricane in Louisiana, and then the sandy parking lot in Santa Monica, all that stuff. So I knew of you. Your reputation preceded you. And so when Brandon said, hey, reach out to Harry Greene, I said, oh, thank gosh. Okay. And in fact, when I look at my text messages, the last time I texted you was 2023.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking back.
Really?
But anyway, I was
trying to remember when that show was.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't 2023. It was way before that.
Yeah,
way before that. But I was just looking at my text messages today.
I think that was Dave Sinclair and
Dave Sinclair and Jenny Bond.
Jenny Bond.
Yeah. Who, again, Jenny's great.
Yeah.
Love her.
Pros.
Crushing.
Yeah.
Dave Sinclair, worked with him, half a dozen times. Yeah. Good people. It wasn't them. It wasn't any one thing. It was all the things all at once. It was that movie. What's the name of that title of that movie? Everything All at Once at the Same Time or whatever.
Everything,
it was all
everywhere
that.
All at once.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just that. Right. It was just like the whirlwind of production. And so anyway, I reached out to you. Thankfully, you were available. And we're there. And we're shooting it. And, production's production. Sometimes it kicks ass and sometimes it kicks your ass. And I just was getting my ass kicked, dude. And I just remember going to Video Village and just and Brian was there, and God bless Brian. He's not the nicest person in the world. And he's, and I'll say this, brother, I just talked to you on the phone. I mean no disrespect, but it's like, he's a tough EP. It's tough to work for that type of person. Because he holds himself to such a high standard, and I want to match that standard, right? And that's hard. That's a hard expectation. Especially now I'm like a pro, or I feel like I've earned my fucking stripes. But like, growing, coming up under that dude, it was tough. And then coming up under Bluewater, the name itself carries this if you take it seriously, which I very much fucking did, it's a responsibility, man. It's like my last name. I tell my kids all the time, it's like, yo, that's not your name, that's my name. And they're only 7 and 4, but I'm like, I'm instilling this like, hey, what we represent is us, right? And so when somebody honors me with, hey, even a client says, hey, this is my baby, will you hold my baby? I'm going to hold and love your baby and try to match how much you love and hold your baby, right? Like that's just my energy. Yep. All right, so, so I say that to make this point, Harry, is that I think that I'm a lot harder on myself than maybe most people are or even need to be, right? But that's just me, man. That's just how I approach shit. That's how I approach this. That's how I approach my relationship with my wife. That's just me. Okay, so anyways, going back to Havana. I remember, dude, it was just going, and then we're losing the light, and it's going to shit, and I just keep going to Video Village, man. And you were just like, you were my dude. You were like, and I kept going, hey man, is this cool? And like, what do you think about this? And you were so incredibly comforting and encouraging and gracious, man. And just like, yeah, hey, what you're doing is good. Keep going. You're great. Or like, hey, why don't we pivot? Try this, right? And then when we're losing the light, so again, and it's a long story, but we're shooting outside. The sun's fucking going down. There's a garden out there. It's like, we got to put up a green screen now. And it's like, and now that just tells every director what they don't want to hear, who's also a producer, is that, oh shit, we are way going into overtime. So even though I have producers on set, I don't have a Colleen or a Tara or a BA. BA is a fucking hell of a producer. I don't have any of those. I have some really great producers, but they're not me. And so now you're worried about there's going to be a dinner plan. And my brain's doing this, and that sucks to do that when my job is to make this work, right? And that's nobody's fault, but really my own, if I'm being honest, is that I just took on way too much. I always take on way too much. And, but brother, dude, man, you saved, to this day, I hold on to a lot of that night.
Yeah.
And here's why. All that happens and Harry's there, and Harry's just super encouraging, and he's super like, yes, you're doing this, keep going. You were saying a lot of really, really great things, and at one point I was like, is this motherfucker just like... just want to get the fuck out of here and tell me like that. Like, I didn't believe you, but like, because I was like, there's no way this is working. And it did work. And then, so at the end of the night, it's like 1 a.m. Everybody's loading out. Everybody's tired as shit. And I'm sitting outside. And dude, I could cry at this moment. I'm just tired. I'm just defeated. I'm emotionally, mentally, physically just done. And you are tired. But you're sitting there, and you kind of, I remember, Cook, you had your hands crossed, and you're just kind of sitting there, and you're just kind of like, just breathing out the night, man, just breathing out the day. And I just remember telling you a lot of what I'm telling you now, and you were like, yeah, man, that's why they call it the grind. And I was like, I'm all ground up, man. I was like, dude, I was Harry, that evening. And it wasn't just that evening, but that evening was the straw that broke this camel's back. And it was just that grind had gotten me. And so from there was when I started to like take a foot out of DR, out of that agency, out of that, It was just I had had enough, man. And, and I kicked myself in the ass all the time because I think we do. Where it's just like, am I quitting? I can't hang with this anymore. And I just didn't have the peace and the passion and the love and the grace anymore. I started being shitty to crew members after that on shoots where I just like my temper I just became not the guy. I wasn't the guy anymore. And it wasn't fair to Bluewater. It wasn't fair to the clients, even though I was still putting out great work. You're welcome, But like, I fucking hated it. I hated who I was. I hated I hated all the things I hated all the things that I used to love about production. I hated all of it. And that's when I knew I need to get out of here. This isn't fair to Bluewater. and it isn't fair to my wife, and isn't it fair to me, and it's not fair to the clients, and I just need to get the fuck out of here. And so I went to a smaller agency and only spent about a year there because I was like, same circus, different fucking clowns. I'm just going to do my own shit.
Is that production for you too?
So very little production because I came to because they did give me a couple of production jobs, and if I'm being honest, I came with some Bluewater intensity of like, yo, we get shit done, and I realized that not a lot of people get shit done the Bluewater way, right? People are definitely kicking ass out there, but I came with a lot of Bluewater energy, and I think that energy kind of was off-putting. Specifically, I just didn't understand why like everything took so long to get done, which what I found out from not just them, but since I've been out, since I've been out of jail, since I've been out, like a lot of people, it's not as like, it's not so, it's a little bit more like, yeah, man, it's cool and calculating. There is budget for a soup. There is budget for the right kind of talent. Mm-hmm. There is budget for an extra day of production. You know what I'm saying? And then when I got out, I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting because I don't work like that. Like all the shit we're going to shoot in 2 days, I could do in about 12 hours on one day. Right or wrong, that was my master's degree. Yep. My master's degree was we can get this done in 12 hours. Yep. 13, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But we can get it done. Yep. And right or wrong, man, that's just that. And even with all the stuff I do, it's like I look at my day and I'm like, oh, this is a 2-day. No, I can get this done in 9 hours. Like, and it's a hard ass 9 hours, Harry. You know.
Yeah.
But it's possible.
I sure do.
But it's possible. But anyways, like to wrap a bow on that is that, brother man, the grind.